Hey y'all, it's Santana, aka Tana's Book Diary, and I'm back with another video. Based off the title of today's video, I will be doing a Love Island themed video. I will be giving book recommendations to some of the islanders. I really think a lot of them need to just sit down, touch some grass, some real grass, and read a book. Some of these books are gonna tell them about themselves, or books that I just think that they would read or should read. So it's a little bit of a mix. Some that I recommend and some that remind me of either them or like their couple and their situation. I filmed this video yesterday. My mic, literally the whole video was muted. I was sick and I was so sad about it, so I'm here to refilm it because I really want you guys to see this video, especially as we're kind of on the tail end of Love Island season 8. My sister and I have been obsessed with this season. We've been catching up on it every day that it comes out. As I'm watching the show, I have so many thoughts about some of the islanders, good and bad thoughts. This is just supposed to be fun and lighthearted, nothing crazy. But I had seen a couple people on Bookstagram doing like posts about what books they think they should read, and I was like, ooh, let me join. So here I am. Okay, I'm gonna be looking at my notes. The first islander that needs to read a book is Sincere. And specifically, he needs to read the dictionary. I want to say I'm just like joking, but like epitome, sir. And just all his analogies that he makes sometimes are very nonsensical. And so I think he just needs to see what words mean, because like Melanie said, he sometimes just says words. But no, in reality, outside of that, I would actually recommend him reading End Emotional Outsourcing, How to Overcome Your Codependent, Perfectionist, and People-Pleasing Habits by Beatrice Victoria Albina. I read this like last year because I am a recovering people pleaser myself. I know a people pleaser when I see them. I can see that Sincere doesn't really like confrontation. He doesn't like to be called out. And when he is, he doesn't react in the way that I guess like most people would. He kind of reacts in a way that's like taking, like he'll take fault, but he's not taking accountability. Like I don't know if those two things can happen at once, but like he'll say, yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, I'm sorry, you know, I did do you wrong. But he doesn't fully understand what he did, and he doesn't really fully take ownership. It's like he's just saying that so they can get off his back. And I feel like he needs to read this book because one, he needs to unlearn that. Two, his people pleasing then in turn affects like his relationship and connection with Melanie. It affected his connection with Soul, and it affected his relationship or his connection with Amora. So I think he needs to read this just to really see how his behavior not only like affects him, but it affects everyone else. And his and Melanie's connection relationship is very codependent. It's very toxic, and they need to separate. I am not a fan of Corbin or Pamita like in their connection, but they really were spitting facts in the latest episode when they were like, Melanie, you deserve better, you need better. This guy has constantly showed you who he was time and time again, and you guys keep coming back together, and you need to stop. And so I think Sincere really needs to read this book because he is usually at the scene of the crime. Okay, next islander, Melanie. Melanie needs to read a contemporary romance that not only focuses on romance, but also heavily focuses on self-love, prioritizing yourself, putting your needs first, and eliminating any toxicity around you, in this case, your man. So I recommend This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This book is the second book in the Skyland series that Kennedy Ryan wrote. We follow Soledad. She is currently at the beginning of the story married to Edward, who is literally the scum of the earth. He cheats on her. He constantly disrespects her in front of his colleagues and behind the scenes at home. They have 3 children, so she's really trying to make it work and stick it out for the sake of their kids. But it just gets to a point where she's like, I'm done with the disrespect. I would rather be on my own and taking care of my kids and making my own business than relying on a man just for his financial support. who constantly disrespects you and your relationship with him. So Soledad goes on this self-love journey, this healing journey. She goes on this entrepreneur journey. She starts making content, she starts cooking, and she's becoming very successful at taking herself out on solo dates and just prioritizing her own mental health. And then she gets with Judah, who is kind of in a similar situation. He has his own son, he's done a lot of work on himself, and when they get together, it's purely romance. It's not codependency, it's not a rebound. And I think that that's what Melanie needs to read and see, that it is possible to find someone much better than Sincere in this case, and you deserve better. And I know that she knows that because she has said it constantly throughout the villa, like, I deserve better, you're making me look stupid, I don't need this, I could find someone who will show me, you know, a million things better, you know. But she still somehow winds up with Sincere. So I feel like if she read this and saw it on paper, I don't know, I think she would see, I do deserve better, and I need to also work on myself too before I jump right into another committed relationship. You know what I mean? So on to the next islander, Anaya. So Anaya has constantly mentioned her love of fairy tales, wanting to be treated like a princess. I'm assuming that alludes to like her father-daughter relationship she has, where she's been treated like a princess. Like, she gets not what she wants, but she gets what she wants. She's heavily supported, she's loved, and so she wants that in a romantic partner as well. And so I would recommend A Fairy Tale Retelling by the book by Jasmine Guillory. This book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's about a writer who's in this mansion or castle type thing, and the groundskeeper is this disgruntled, quiet dude, but she finds out he's actually very personable, and they click and they start a relationship. And I feel like this is similar to how Anaya and Carl kind of came about, where he was shy, not as like outspoken as everyone else, but he is a true gentleman to the T. He treats her with respect, he listens to her, and I really do think he has this kind of Prince Charming air to him. I don't know the man, and I pray that he's not a bad person. I pray he does not hurt my girl's feelings, but I really think that this could be the fairy tale love story that she wanted and that she's gonna get. So this one I would recommend by the book for Anaya. On to Casey and TT. They have a kind of a combined one. I don't think they should read this per se, but this book is very similar to how they made their connection, Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop. This is a story that takes place over the span of the week. It's only for the week. They're celebrating his best friend and her sister's wedding in Tulum, and they are both the maid of honor and the best man. So they are heavily working together during this to make sure like the week for their friends and their sister is seamless. It's perfect. There's a lot of flack from mainly Janelle's sister. Like, she's really weird. They're not very accepting of Janelle having like romantic relations with Rome for whatever reason. So I feel like Casey and TT kind of had that similar start where all the boys were hyped for Casey and TT, but it's like when they got to the villa, the girls, rightfully so, were whacking Casey, and TT, being, you know, in this connection with Casey, defended her man at the time, which I think backfired on her a little bit, because as much as we want to say that, on a side note, as much as we want to say like this is Love Island, it's about love, this is also about platonic connections. There's a lot of Islander vote opportunities, so if you're not cool with the Islanders, no one really cares that you might have a good connection if you've burned a lot of bridges or if you kind of started off on the wrong foot. And I think with TT, that's why we kind of saw her go on this tour of like apologizing and being like, yeah, girl, it's really not you, it's him, and I love y'all, and da da da, after day one of being back in the villa. But I just think her coming out the gate like that, it kind of threw some people off, me included as an audience member. But I also didn't like the discourse online that was going on, where it's kind of like masculinizing. I don't know if I made that up. but they were making her very masculine in that situation, and then Casey very feminine. I did not like those edits. Those edits are very weird, very anti-black, very misogynistic. A lot of misogynoir going on online. So yeah, I didn't like how Kiki, I want to keep saying Kiki because Casey, but I didn't like how Casey kind of brought TT into that situation, and I didn't like that he disrespected Anaya in Casa Amor, but the whole thing just kind of blew up. I just wish he was very respectful towards Anaya while also still pursuing a new connection. But anyway, this is about books. I'm going on a rant now. But yeah, Only for the Weak I think represents and kind of has that same vibe Casey and TT have, where like over a span of a couple days they fall hard, it's insta love almost, and there's a little bit of pushback about their relationship, but they have a connection that we don't understand and that it's only for them to see. You know what I mean? I said for Zach, One Direction fanfiction. Not kidding. I don't know which one. I don't know where. I used to read them a bunch as a kid, but I think he has already, so I feel like he's already hip to that. But yeah, that's all I got. My last Islander rec is Kenzie. I personally think she would read something by Colleen Hoover, who I do not read because of a lot of things she's done and said. But I would recommend of a book that I have read, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. That is a very summery, over the summer course, like romance, falling hard. There's a little bit of push-pull, a lot of like, will they, won't they, you know. With Kenzie, she's a little more they will. That's the book I would recommend for Kenzie. I unfortunately couldn't think or didn't have any recs for Kata, Trinity, Bryce, like the rest of the Islanders. But for Kata, Bryce, and Zach, I did think of a movie, Challengers, like instantly got that vibe. Just because obviously Zach and Bryce have this interesting bromance that I don't know how everyone really feels about it. I feel like no one really says anything. Trinity really does, but I feel like she does it like, haha, stop playing with my man. But like, we know she's serious, but like, try not to be that person. But I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I would like to see that talked about more in the reunion or something. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of book recs for those guys, but if you guys do, feel free to drop them in the comments, like what books you think they should read or what books like remind you of them or their connection. I had a lot of fun kind of like coming out with these books. It was just something off a whim. I was watching Love Island and scrolling on Instagram, and I saw people were like, ooh, they should read this, and so I wanted to hop on that train. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Drop down below if you have a favorite Islander or a favorite couple. Let's chat some more about Love Island, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.